This is one of the most outrageous things I have heard in a long, long time.
In a case that has been filled.
And looks at Wendy and says, you know, you had a great career. Your career is over. It is never coming back. You're done. Why would a...
What if everything you thought was locked in suddenly collapsed right under you? That's the storm reportedly hitting Kevin Hunter and his longtime partner Sharina Hudson as Wendy Williams' fortune slips out of their reach for good. For years, they allegedly moved like high rollers, acting like their future was guaranteed, while Wendy was left dealing with the emotional wreckage. But once Wendy's talk show wrapped in 2022 and the court-appointed guardianship froze up her accounts, that money flow supposedly shut off in a flash. Now, insiders say Kevin is facing a financial meltdown so heavy that he's selling off fancy rides, dropping properties, and trying to dodge legal heat just to stay afloat. And Sharina, who used to post up with designer bags and quiet luxury brunch days, is now reportedly grinding again just to keep things steady. Sources claim this downfall wasn't random at all, but the result of a plan that didn't play out the way they expected. Kevin had allegedly been receiving around $250,000 every month from Wendy after the divorce, but that chapter seems long gone now. That whole payout vanished the moment the guardianship kicked in, leaving nothing for Kevin to collect. By 2023, court filings confirmed what people had been whispering for months. The funds were gone and Kevin had no real way back in. A judge even shut down his attempt to restart the alimony, stating clearly that Wendy wasn't required to hand over another dollar under their original deal.
You know, the banks froze everything up. Yeah. He was not in a position to pay $10,000 a month.
With that door slammed shut, Kevin switched tactics fast and came back swinging with a huge lawsuit. This time, he demanded $250 million in damages, not just from Wendy, but from her legal guardian and even Wells Fargo, claiming there was some big plot to block him from the money. But this is where things get even wilder. While Wendy was dealing with serious health struggles, getting moved from place to place, and losing access to her own accounts, Kevin and Sharina were allegedly trying to build their dream life off the money Wendy earned. Sharina Hudson, the woman Kevin kept in the shadows for years while he publicly managed Wendy's career, reportedly welcomed their daughter in 2019, long before the truth came out. People who know the timeline say this wasn't some short-term secret romance at all. The relationship reportedly stretched over 15 years and overlapped with times when Wendy was dealing with medical challenges and rehab stays. And it didn't stop at dates or gifts. Kevin allegedly bought properties for Sharina, covered her entire lifestyle, and even helped her launch her vegan chef brand, all while pulling resources from Wendy's world to make it happen. When the talk show shut down and Wendy was placed under guardianship, everything crashed at once. Those steady monthly checks stopped cold, and Kevin told the court he couldn't even cover basic bills like his homeowner association fees, car insurance, or credit card minimums. By mid-2024, UBS Bank hit him with a lawsuit for more than $20,000 in unpaid debt, putting his financial trouble out in the open for everyone to see. Around that same stretch, public records showed he started unloading luxury cars and listing the Florida house he once shared with Sharina for over $1.2 million. But even with that glossy price tag, neighbors said the place looked worn down, proving the funds weren't just low, they were practically gone. Sharina didn't vanish completely, but she definitely pulled back. Sources say she shut down her social media, kept her profile quiet, and might have moved back in with relatives after the pressure got too heavy. The days of posing in designer outfits and showing off curated looks were replaced by a totally different grind. By late 2025, she popped up again promoting real estate help, wellness items, and small business coaching, a whole new lane from the luxury world she once showcased. One insider put it in simple terms. She went from Gucci to gut cleanses. And according to people close to the situation, that shift wasn't the only change. Kevin and Sharina were reportedly drifting apart, arguing about money and what their future even looked like now that the lifestyle they built had slipped away. Some insiders even claim Kevin slowed down on contributing to shared expenses involving their daughter, adding even more strain between them.
Like I said, I've always spoke to her, and she's always wanted me to spend her money.
Public reaction has been rough, and the internet isn't holding back at all. Social media users have been calling Kevin and Sharina's downfall straight up karma, with many saying this was the moment they always expected to see. Fans had suspected the long-term affair for years, but when the Lifetime documentary dropped in early 2024, the betrayal hit different because the full picture finally came out. Viewers saw Wendy dealing with confusion, trouble speaking clearly, and struggling with mobility, all while people in her inner circle were allegedly lining up brand deals, coordinating film crews, and selling access like it was nothing. Sharina's name didn't show up in the documentary, but the fact that she wasn't anywhere near Kevin during his legal battles definitely stood out to people watching everything unfold. Meanwhile, Kevin tried to flip the narrative and frame himself as Wendy's protector, claiming in a federal lawsuit that he was exposing financial abuse happening under the guardianship. But most folks didn't buy that angle for a second. Legal pros pointed out that he had no right to sue on her behalf, not after the divorce, and not without any official position in her life or finances. Even so, his filing set off headlines everywhere, pulling court officials, medical staff, and major banks into a whirlwind of accusations. And in a twist nobody expected, some of those claims started lining up with whispers from Wendy's own circle, the family members and longtime friends who had been watching the situation up close. According to court files and interviews, Wendy's guardianship has been raising serious questions since the very beginning. It started after Wells Fargo froze her accounts in 2022, saying there were suspicious withdrawals and concerns that someone might be taking advantage of her. But by 2024, the situation had grown way more intense, and the people closest to Wendy were sounding alarms loud and clear. Her niece, her sister, and her son all spoke out publicly, saying they were being kept away from her. Meanwhile, her guardian attorney, Sharina Morrissey, was reportedly blocking family visits and even selling Wendy's Manhattan apartment, all while Wendy was allegedly begging to leave the assisted living facility, calling it a dump and saying the staff was over-medicating her. And while she was dealing with all that, Kevin was out here suing the same system, saying he had been cut off from funds he used to rely on. The irony was impossible to ignore. The setup that was supposed to protect Wendy from being taken advantage of ended up exposing how many people seemed to have some kind of financial interest tied to her situation. Kevin's lawsuit, whether he meant it to be honest or whether it was just a move to get back into the money flow, ended up pulling the curtain back on who was still getting paid, who got pushed out, and who might be next in line for scrutiny. And even though Sharina's name stayed mostly out of the official court documents, insiders say she's still in the background, especially when it comes to the last few assets connected to Kevin's side of things. If Kevin and Sharina's downfall looks like a full circle moment, some insiders say it might just be the warm-up to something even bigger. Investigators are reportedly digging deeper into Wendy's guardianship, checking sealed files, talking to people behind closed doors, and tracing financial movements. And new whispers are already spinning through the background. Allegations of money slip-ups, quiet deals, and unauthorized sales of Wendy's personal items are being talked about by people familiar with the case. Sources who say they've seen pieces of the ongoing motions claim there might even be a trust account that was accessed without Wendy signing off on it. If that turns out to be real, then multiple people could end up tangled in something way larger than anyone expected. And if that's the case, Kevin and Sharina might not be the only ones hoping Wendy stays silent so their world doesn't get shaken up, but behind all the messy headlines and public back and forth sits something even heavier. While Kevin Hunter and Sharina Hudson reportedly try to rebuild from the chaos, the guardianship meant to shield Wendy Williams is raising some serious questions of its own. Multiple individuals close to the situation now claim the person benefiting the most from this setup isn't Wendy. It's the woman hired to control her legal and financial decisions. Sharina Morrissey, the court-appointed guardian, is reportedly earning hundreds of dollars per hour, and every single fee gets billed straight to Wendy's estate. That means every time there's a court hearing, every time a legal document is filed, and every time a family visit is denied, someone is collecting a check. And the longer the guardianship stays active, the longer that cash keeps rolling in. Kevin's federal lawsuit asking for $250 million might look wild at first glance, but inside those filings, he dropped a serious claim. He said this whole situation wasn't about medical protection at all, but a setup. He alleged that a circle of powerful attorneys, financial institutions, and guardians teamed up to freeze Wendy's money, block her from her own accounts, and split the benefits, while people like him, who had once lived off her income, were suddenly cut out. It's a huge accusation, and even though his motives clearly mix with his own interests, some pieces of what he said match up with concerns coming straight from Wendy's family.
The judge in the guardianship.
The judge in the guardianship read Alex Finney, the Riot Act, threatened her and said, "You're talking," making an accusation that she's talking to the media, and if you continue doing it, I'm going to do this to you, I'm going to do that to you. There is a gag order in this case. I can tell you that The judge has scared a lot of people in this.
Several of her close relatives have spoken up, saying they've been kept from reaching her for long stretches of time. Her niece, Alex Finney, and her sister Wanda both said they can't freely reach Wendy anymore, explaining that calls go unanswered and visits get shut down without any warning. One longtime friend went even further, describing the people around the guardianship as a pack of losers circling Wendy like vultures, saying they weren't there to help. They were there to collect. Even Wendy's cats were reportedly taken away without her knowing, and her apartment was sold for less than it was worth. The picture being painted isn't one of care, it's a picture of control, and on the other side of this whole tangled situation, Sharina Hudson's fall from the high-end lifestyle has people talking non-stop. She used to be spotted stepping out of flashy cars and wearing top-tier designer labels that were allegedly funded by Wendy's money. Now she's moving in a totally different lane, reportedly grinding with multiple side hustles just to keep things steady. She's been promoting real estate listings, wellness supplements, and small lifestyle services, all while keeping her online presence quiet and controlled. Industry folks who worked with Sharina in the past are now describing someone completely overwhelmed, realizing way too late that her spot in Kevin's plan was never locked in the way she thought. One insider put it straight. She thought she was winning. Now she's just surviving. That shift in reality seems to be bleeding into her relationship with Kevin because reports say the tension between them is getting heavier by the day, especially with the bills stacking up and no steady money coming in. Kevin's lawsuits going nowhere, Sharina's business moves struggling to take off, and the non-stop backlash online have all added pressure they can't shake. The Florida house they once lived in was listed, the luxury cars were sold off, and according to one former associate, Sharina quietly moved out and went back to stay with relatives. A move many believe marks the end of their relationship for real. But insiders aren't only talking about where Sharina went, they're talking about where her head is at. Multiple people close to the situation say her downturn isn't just about finances, it's hitting her emotionally too. One former friend said she looked withdrawn, embarrassed, and visibly shaken during a recent unexpected run-in. Sources are whispering that Sharina's nights are filled with stress, replaying the empire she helped build and then watched collapse, all while she tries to hustle her way into some kind of redemption. They claim she seriously underestimated not just Wendy's strength, but the legal machine now locking everybody out and shutting down every angle they once relied on. What started as a slick play for a luxury lifestyle has now turned into a full-on personal crash soaked in regret. People close to the situation say Sharina never expected the guardianship to last this long, or to lock down Wendy's money as tightly as it has. Court specialists have even called Wendy's financial restrictions some of the strictest they've seen on any public figure, making it nearly impossible for anyone outside the approved circle to touch a single dollar. That reality reportedly hit Sharina hard, especially since many believe she counted on Kevin keeping access to Wendy's income not just emotionally, but financially too. With that door shut for good, she's allegedly been left dealing with the fallout on her own, without the cushion she once thought she'd always have.
And I can't figure out, why is there a gag order in this case that Wendy can't talk about her circumstances? Why is the judge doing it?
That aside,
there is something
that's even
way.
And now the mental strain is starting to show. People who used to be around her say she's become seriously on edge, paranoid about being watched, worried about possible lawsuits, and scared of ending up in the spotlight again. She's reportedly cut ties with old friends, stopped talking to former business partners, and avoids public places where someone might recognize her. One source said, Sharina moves like someone waiting for something bad to drop at any moment, hinting that even she might be worried about what else could come out from her years connected to Kevin. This isn't just guilt, it's anticipation, and those cracks in her once calm, polished vibe are getting harder to hide. Some insiders believe Sharina is dealing with a heavy identity crisis because for more than 10 years, her entire image was built around being the quiet force behind Kevin, the person who stayed out of sight while still enjoying the rewards. Now that silence has flipped into straight-up isolation, and without Kevin's legal backing or any access to Wendy's money, she's reportedly struggling to figure out who she even is anymore. Her attempts to jump into entrepreneurship haven't hit the way she hoped, and people are whispering about growing personal debts that she can't outrun. That kind of pressure could pull her right into legal trouble, especially if Wendy's estate starts digging into any questionable spending or unauthorized transactions that might connect back to her name, and the stakes might be climbing even higher. Legal analysts watching the whole situation say that future financial investigations, especially if sparked by new medical evaluations or court challenges, could expose hidden assets or old transfers from Wendy's accounts. If Sharina benefited from any of those moves, even by accident or through Kevin, she might end up facing a fresh round of legal heat. There's no official complaint against her right now, but the atmosphere is changing fast. One industry insider summed it up perfectly. In big guardianship battles, the bigger the fall, the wider the net gets. And here's the twist people keep talking about. If Sharina's emotional cracks keep growing, could she switch sides and drop even darker info about Kevin's schemes? That question is getting louder every day as she stays silent. In this whole mess, the people who once looked untouchable are now just a couple of headlines away from watching everything fall apart. And the person who reportedly knows the most about what Kevin was doing behind closed doors might also be the one feeling the most pressure to cut a deal before things get worse. But this isn't just some personal breakup saga. It's the echo of a much bigger betrayal. When Kevin chose Sharina over Wendy, he didn't just end a marriage. He allegedly set off a chain reaction that left Wendy vulnerable, isolated, and locked out of the money she earned. The documentary showed her struggling with confusion and pulling away from reality, but still begging for freedom. In one scene, she dropped a paper out the window of the assisted living facility that read, "Help Wendy." That message still hits people hard, and it hasn't disappeared from public memory. Now that cracks are showing in the legal structure around her, more folks are questioning whether Kevin's affair and Sharina's role were just side issues, or part of what pushed Wendy into this storm in the first place. And the whispers coming out lately make the situation look even darker. Multiple unnamed insiders, including 2 former employees from Wendy's inner circle, claimed there were power struggles happening behind the scenes between her guardian, her old publicist, and some former managers. They were all reportedly fighting for influence while Wendy slipped deeper into silence. And while all this was happening, those same people were allegedly pitching media projects about Wendy's life, raising uncomfortable questions about who actually benefits from keeping her story stuck in limbo. At the center of all this chaos is Wendy herself. Cut off, medicated, and constantly monitored. Fans are still split right down the middle. Some say she's dealing with real health struggles and needs strict protection, while others believe she's being held in a controlled setup disguised as care. But no matter which side people take, one fact stands out loud and clear. Everyone who used to be around Wendy for love, loyalty, or money has disappeared, leaving nothing behind except lawsuits, documentaries, and a whole lot of unanswered questions. And the drama isn't slowing down at all. Kevin's newest legal moves show he's still trying to slide his way back into Wendy's financial world, even though the courts keep blocking him at every turn. Sharina, once positioned as the next chapter in Kevin's life, now looks like she's out here moving solo. Her name has vanished from his social media, and her presence around him looks wiped clean. But insiders say it might not be over because Sharina could still be holding serious information. If her situation keeps getting tougher, she might end up revealing things nobody saw coming. A former stylist who worked with her in 2019 put it bluntly, "If she talks, a lot of people are going to regret underestimating her." So now, the real question is this: who else was part of the mix? If Kevin and Sharina weren't the real masterminds, then who was pulling the bigger strings? And how deep does this whole web of exploitation really go? Some names are out in the open, but others are still tucked behind sealed court files, private agreements, and tight non-disclosure deals that keep the truth locked away. There are even whispers that some of the documentary producers, the same ones who were paid through Wendy's estate, were more focused on getting attention than helping her recover. And if that's true, it means the woman who built her entire legacy exposing everybody else's secrets somehow became the most exploited story of them all. While Kevin wrestles with non-stop legal trouble and Sharina reportedly sinks deeper into emotional and financial chaos, one thing is starting to stand out. This scandal's web of schemes and consequences might stretch way farther than anyone realized. But here's the real question echoing through all of this. Will justice ever fully free Wendy from the chaos surrounding her life? Or are there more players waiting to be exposed as the truth keeps creeping out? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think really went down behind the scenes. And make sure you like, subscribe, share, and comment to keep this story alive. Stay locked in, stay alert, and stay watching. This storm isn't done yet.